Welcome, everybody. John Zager. Good afternoon. 12:15, eastern slope of Colorado. Looking out my window, partly cloudy. It is sprinkling outside, and I expect that we're going to have rain probably through most of the evening tonight. It's starting to kind of set in. And this is day 2 of doing YouTube videos. I do them on neuroscience. Let's see. I do daily blogs through johnzager.com. That's my website. By all means, please go and visit that. Leave whatever comments you want, and if you want to contact me, that's a good source to do that. I do podcasts through Spreaker.com, which those come out in my channel on YouTube, which is John Zager. That's how you find me on YouTube. And then on iHeartRadio, and also I post everything to LinkedIn, to Facebook, all of my groups that I belong to, Twitter. I don't know, it's everywhere. So at any rate, everything that I do is accessible and easy to find through social media. And I used to do YouTube videos maybe a couple 3 years back, I'm not real sure, and had a great time doing them, but I wasn't getting a big enough following. And if you don't get a big enough following, it's kind of like, well, what am I doing? So I have been excited thinking about starting this back up. And I noticed yesterday, let me think, I did my first YouTube video on neuroscience. And I believe I picked up 50 or 75 people. I don't know. But I was very excited about that. I need to have 1,000. I need to have 1,000 in order to keep going. I mean, I do the daily blogs and that sort of thing, and I do my podcasts, and, I enjoy doing that. It's like doing radio is all it is. And now I decided to branch out again back to YouTube. Please, and now I understand why they say hit the subscribe button and the little bell or something like that, and that records you as somebody who's watching my YouTube channel. And if I can hit 1,000, then there's an opportunity for me to make a couple cents. The only people that make the money doing these are the ones that are hitting hundreds of thousands of subscribers. There's actually people that are over 1 million. And, those are all the notable named people that we all watch on YouTube. But for the little guy, they really want you to at least have 1,000. But anyway, for whatever it's worth, I'm going to give it another try, and I hope I get the following I need in order to continue. I'm drinking lemon lime Powerade today. I've been up, I've been working, I've been doing my blogging, I've been doing my podcasts, and everything's going fine today. Today is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. So today's YouTube video, I try to keep these all at 30 minutes or under. Today might be shorter than that because I've been working on a project. Everybody here understands, I'm assuming, and those that don't, please contact me and I'll put a YouTube video together to give you more information in detail. Happy to do that. Always available to answer and provide additional information. But we all kind of know Dr. Joe's program, right? I mean, everybody's sort of got something they want to self heal, right? That can be, all the physical stuff, the testimonials that we hear from people, as well as all of the emotional or mental health issues we hear from all the people, and all of the public stuff that has to do with career and family and economy and, just lack and not having abundance and, things of that nature is kind of the third category. And when you listen and you start working his program, you understand in detail how it works and that it's a great program for all of those various problem areas and issues. So, for me, just briefly, and I'll do this for a few days and then I'm going to stop, but my background is since 1969 doing clinical psychology, hour after hour, day after day, month after month, blah, 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 blah. Working in terms of compulsive disorders mostly, helped with starting a program down in Central America, had offices around the globe, saw people, every few days or a couple weeks I would fly to a different office and see people. So I'm fairly knowledgeable about different cultures, and everything basically is the same, you guys. Issues are issues and people are people. But I've written 4 books and had them published, so I have that background. And the last 10 years, I've been working heavily in neuroscience research. I'm not a neuroscientist, but I do neuroscience research. So I guess I'm a researcher, which is the same thing that Dr. Joe is. He's not a neuroscientist. He just does research in neuroscience. So with that, I've got a pretty extensive background working with people, mostly around mental health issues, of course. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an MD, so I've had doctors refer patients of theirs to me, that some of which were terminally ill, and how do you go about assisting the doctor in helping the treatment thing for these people that were, so to speak, dying. And again, if you look at the program that we're all working right now, it works great, and it worked back then when I was doing clinical, okay? The names were different, the terms were different, the language was different, but the program was the same, right? And I'll go into that in just a very, very little bit of detail in a moment, because there's a direction that I'm going, and there's a specific thing that I want to address with you guys today. So at any rate, it works, and it worked back then, and people were able to self-heal themselves of all kinds of different things as they are today. There's really 3 programs that I address, although I'm constantly trying to find additional programs that can be of benefit for what I do, because I do consultation education with people individually as well as with groups, small groups, and businesses, small and middle range businesses, because again, the program, you guys, works equally well when you're doing consultation for businesses or companies or corporations. It works. And so that's the kind of stuff that I do in the background. And I also do coaching. I no longer do treatment or therapy or, that sort of thing. But I do consultation education. Coaching is not doing therapy. And using the tools of the program allows a lot of personal growth and self-healing without getting into the trauma. That's another whole, boy, go back and listen to my podcasts. I mean, I go on and on and on about in the day, therapists or counselors or psychologists or what have you used to bring people back to the emotional trauma that they experienced that screwed up their life. And today with neuroscience, things are explained in scientific terms, and we don't bring people back to the trauma. And my contention is, and I'm adamant about this, that we ought to get some legislation so that therapists no longer are allowed to re-traumatize patients. You understand what I'm saying? When we can use science to connect the dots. And we know how to prune apart the neuron connections and put together new neuron connections without having to go back into the trauma. I kind of get on a bandwagon at this point, and I will do a YouTube video on this very soon, and you'll watch me jump up and down and scream. But I'm just thinking that is that legal? Are we allowed to re-traumatize people? Is that really how people get well? I'm not a believer, and I did it for whatever 69 to '08 was. I don't know, 38 years or something like that. I've been at it for, 43 years total, or I don't know. That's all I've ever done my whole life. Is just psychology and neuroscience research, which now I've branched out into consultation education. I do speaking, and I do lectures, and I do workshop seminars, whatever you want to call them, around neuroscience and self-healing. All that means is, here, this is how you can reprogram. So here's the deal, and I want to just explain this in really a brief fashion. So if you have a company and the company's doing poorly, they're not making money, okay? Or if you have a salesman and the salesman's not producing, right? Or if you have an individual and he or she is having difficulty in their relationships, or if you have an individual and he or she is living in lack and not in abundance, which, we're all supposed to be happy and living in abundance according to the Bible. Okay, but those scenarios that I just gave you, and I could give you 100 more of those, can all be treated and addressed through neuroscience. We are, and this is old hat, and I will go through it again in detail if people need to. Please contact me. But mom's third trimester to age 6 or 7-ish. The first 2 years you're in delta brainwave, and from age 2 to 6 and a half, you're in theta, which is just hypnosis. And you're just being downloaded all of this information from adults, parents or relatives or neighbors or TV or radio or school or wherever. I mean, when you're a little peep and you're that age, everything is being absorbed, You're in a fantasy world. You're making cakes out of mud pies, and you're riding horses that are just stick brooms. I mean, your world is being developed, right? So you end up with these belief systems. Mom or dad or somebody in the family has a disease. Who knows what it was? It was either a good experience, bad experience. They got over it. They didn't get over it. It was a traumatic thing. Okay, that's all information that's going into your little noggin where you develop beliefs and eventually perceptions of yes or no. I'm on that page or I'm not on that page as I get older. One of them might be about money. What's Robert Kiyosaki, the Japanese guy who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad? The concept is nothing more than what you were taught, what your beliefs, the beliefs that were given to you, determined whether you were going to be wealthy or you were going to be poor. How else can I say that? A poor dad who has no knowledge or understanding or background about how to produce money is teaching or giving beliefs to the child that are going to stick with them for most all of their life, that they're not going to end up being wealthy. They're going to be living in lack. They've almost got that down to a science, to where it's just that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to be. So let's say you go, and this is you individually. How do you change that? You have to reprogram it. You have to erase or prune apart those old neuron connections, right? And put back new neuron connections and clusters that hopefully will become hardwired on how to be and live in abundance. If you own a business, I have to have a drink. If you own a business and it's doing poorly, let's say you put all of your savings into buying or building a business of whatever you do, and after a year or two, you're not making any money, why go get an accountant or somebody who's a financial advisor? Think about this, you guys. Think about this. Why not go get somebody who has a background with psychology, talking to people, and neuroscience, which is the science behind why and how the dots connect? And you go back, and you're not doing therapy. You're not going back and getting re-traumatized from your childhood events, but rather you're looking at the old limiting belief systems. I'm sorry, I keep looking out the window. I will not do that. I apologize. But why not look at the limiting belief systems around money and lack, and not understanding abundance, and not understanding what Rich Dad might have taught you, seeing that you probably grew up with Poor Dad, and all that means, that's not a negative connotation. It's just somebody knew how to teach you certain things and how to produce money, and some people didn't know how to teach you things that would cause you to produce money, right? So why not find a person that has those skill sets that can help you with, how would I put it, reprogramming. Reprogram is not a big deal. It's not rocket science. You don't have to be a psychologist or psychiatrist or a neuroscientist to reprogram your brain. It just is not complicated. It is very, very simple. Okay, so that's 19 minutes of my presentation about why things are the way they are and we end up where we are. That made sense. You just have to think about it. Here's what my YouTube video for today is really about. I'm out all day long. I'm interacting with people all the time. I'm interacting with people all over the United States, all over the world. What I'm good at is talking. I believe I have an ability to communicate in a pretty simple fashion, and I like doing that. That's what I've done my whole life, trying to guide or counsel or direct or encourage or inspire or empower people to live better lives. That's what I do. That's what I do. And I try it in a lot of different forms. And some of the times I'm successful and some of the times I'm not. Right? So this program that we're all working, and I'm assuming everybody's on that page, also can work for life skills that are not cutting it. I run into people all the time, and there's several things that I see. And I'm not saying this is correct or written in granite, okay? This is just my observation, right? There's a lot of homeless people out there. We watch the news at 5 o'clock, the national news, and we see LA where they're camped out in, I don't know, downtown LA or something, right on the sidewalk. And we see that in San Francisco, and we see it down here in Denver, and a lot of the bigger metropolitan cities have become sanctuary cities for these people to go and camp out. There was a picture on the internet 2 or 3 days ago where there's this pretty plush restaurant. I think it was in San Francisco actually, and they had a street area that they had tables at and whatnot, and there were people sitting there having probably fairly pricey meals, right? And there was all these homeless people camped out. Well, they also allow you in these sanctuary cities, you can poo on the street if you want. Now, San Francisco's always been a town. I'm sorry I did it. San Francisco's always been a town that when you walk around in downtown San Francisco, I used to live there, you know, it smells like urine and feces. Because people have always just peed and pooed on the street. That's just the way that place has always been. Okay? So there's a lot of, I don't want to get off on that. Okay? That's politics and I don't want to go there. So there's a lot of people who are unemployed in the United States. I'm just going to use the United States. And regardless of what you think of the president, you know, this, that, or the other thing, how good or statistics or whatever, there's still unemployed people. I don't know how many. There used to be a lot more than there are now, but, you know, it's getting pretty ridiculous. So you have unemployed people. You have homeless people. They're out on the street, right? So these people are living in lack. They don't have an apartment or a studio apartment, or maybe some of them have a car that they can sleep in, but they're still living in lack. They're living in an economic situation that's below poverty. All right. They eat out of dumpsters. They go to food banks. And trust me, food banks are terrible. the food is spoiled and outdated a lot, a lot. And I hear people talk about they get sick because they're eating food they really shouldn't be eating. So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's this group of people that are needy that could benefit from learning how to self-heal. And I'm saying that this program that I do and that I teach and educate on, Dr. Joe Dispenza's type program, can work successfully with helping these people get their lives back, get out of lack, and learn how to live a life of abundance, of joy, of peace, of happiness, build relationships, obtain work. And the way that you do that is by doing consultation education about here's where you got these belief systems, which I just talked about. And here's how we prune them, those belief systems that are limiting and have you out on the street doing awful things. Here's how we prune those apart. And through neuroscience, here's how we put back in strong, positive belief systems that will teach you how to get out of lack into abundance, acquire money, acquire housing, relationships. We can put lives back together if we can teach these people the tools and the steps needed to self-heal. I've said this before, but I've made several comments over the past year or two when I see Tony Robbins on the internet, right? And what I do is I write a comment that, and it's meant in a positive sense, not a negative sense. You know, this is a guy who came from lack and worked his way up and has all the tools and whatnot, to where he took Psychology 101 and he became successful, and he went on to teach all kinds of people everywhere how to do that. And he's now worth, I don't know, $1 billion, $500 million, whatever it is. Why couldn't he take his money? It's like this much of his money, and rent an auditorium or a hall, like say in LA, and do a 4-hour morning workshop or seminar teaching these people how to self-heal and go from lack to abundance. Okay. There's people with his caliber that know specifically how to do this work. And it would cost them pennies on a dollar. Here's what I'm proposing. I've been in this business since 1969. I believe it's about 49 years or so. And I can do the same thing. I would rather have people that are notable and reputable and can just go out and do this because they've been doing it all their lives. But I'm willing to put on small workshops for, I don't know, small amounts of people that could fit into. You can go to these rec centers and rent rooms, or they put 2 or 3 rooms together, and I don't know, you maybe get 50, 100, couple hundred people in one of those classroom type settings, and you could teach them neuroscience and why they're at the point in their life that they're at, how they got there, how the dots connect, and the skill set and the tools to leave the lack behind and move forward and grow into abundance. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to go do that. And if it, I'm on the eastern slope of Colorado. Certainly we have our fair share of those kinds of people around here. And I'm happy to do that. If it were to take off, maybe another city or something might ask me to go and do the same kind of little workshop or seminar. The cost is minimal. The cost would be whatever the room or the little auditorium or the little space that you have to rent, or you might get for free, I'm not sure, whatever that would be. And I don't know, we probably would want to have some water for them and maybe some kind of an energy bar for each person that comes. But I could put on, and I would be happy to put on, I don't know, do it in 2 hours or 4 hours. I don't care. I'm happy to do it. And for my services, of course, I would want to be paid something for doing that. And rather than re-traumatizing these people, but to inspire or empower and get them out of lack and on the road to abundance. And I believe in my heart that neuroscience and a program like Dr. Joe's that does self-healing is exactly what the country needs, what the communities need, what the cities need, what the towns need, what the large metropolitan areas need. And that's how we approach it to turn it around for people. So anyway, it's my little YouTube channel, and I've decided to work on this project and figure out how to do it. I want to try it. I don't think Tony Robbins is going to be coming up to the plate and renting some place in LA to do this, and wish he would. And there's other people. There's other highly qualified people that they could write it off. They have so much money they could just write it off, right? They're supposed to write stuff off so they don't pay taxes or whatever rich people do. I don't know. I'm not rich. So anyway, here's the deal. Here's the last thing, and then I'm out of here. I have a PayPal account. I don't have any money. I live off of, I'm self-supporting. Out of everything I do on the internet, if people choose to send some money my way, that's the only income I have. Okay? So, I don't have a stash of money over here to go and pull from and pay a little something to me and a little something to the room and for some water and some granola bars and then be able to put out my time for 2 or 4 hours. And my guess is, there probably could be quite a few of these little seminar workshops to do as time went on. I have a PayPal account, and the way you get into my PayPal account or put money into my PayPal account is my email address, which is jzegar@gmail.com. jzegar@gmail.com. You have to trust me that the money will go to do this project. Excuse me. I'm very sorry about that. I will do it. I've been totally transparent. I've put this project out in front of everybody. I sure wish I had 1,000 people subscribing to my channel. Maybe that'll happen. And maybe as time goes on, word will get out that, there's this guy over on the Eastern Slope who's got a huge background of doing this, and he would be great. And why can't we, support him in helping all these people? So anyway, Father's Day. Hope you all have a good rest of the day. God bless everybody. Take care of one another. And I look forward to talking to you all again real soon. Thanks a lot. See you. Bye.